Zohran Mamdani's victory on Tuesday was a breakthrough moment for the Democratic Socialists of America, of which he is, of course, a member. Now the question is what the future holds for the DSA now that one of its own is the city's most powerful elected official. Here to talk more about Mamdani's win are Gustavo Gordillo and Grace Mauser. Both are co-chairs of the New York City DSA. Thank you for joining us. Welcome back to the program. So let me ask you this. If I had told you a year ago that we would be here in November 2025 talking about Mayor-elect Mamdani, what would you have said? You probably wouldn't have believed me.
You know, we took a huge risk in endorsing Zohran almost a year ago exactly, and we thought there was a narrow path to victory, but no one really had in their imagination that we would end up here. But we took that risk because we felt that in the city, we needed to increase power for the working class at a much faster rate. Our own strategy was hitting something of a wall, and we had to try something different, and we did that, and you know, it succeeded. We paid off.
And what did you see early on? Like, when did you get a sense that Mamdani really had something special and that he was connecting with voters?
Early on, there was a real excitement, not only within the organization, but also in kind of the first outer rings of people who are excited about the socialism and democratic socialism. We saw that almost right away when he launched, had a huge fundraising haul. And then for me, what was more powerful was in December, he launched his field campaign, his first canvassing effort. 500 people showed up. I don't think any other candidate had one single event that had 500 canvassers throughout the entirety of the campaign. And Zohran had it in December. Of course, he built on that. There's 100,000 volunteers that he has by Tuesday. But that really started with a strong foundation from DSA, but there was a lot of excitement almost immediately. And you saw that people voted first with their feet and their time and their ability to knock on doors.
So Mamdani has never shied away from the DSA label in his campaign, but there were times, I think especially during the general election, where he did try to create a little bit of distance, right? He would be asked about certain elements of the DSA platform, and he would say, well, that's not my platform, that's the DSA platform. I wonder what you thought of that. I mean, was that just something that he had to do in order to win?
It's true that our platform is not identical to his, but I think we were able to maintain a high degree of unity throughout the campaign because we had our eyes on the ball of the top priorities. Recently, we voted to adopt the affordability agenda as our own organizational priorities for the next year. And I think throughout the campaign, everyone was very bought in to this agenda because some of it came directly from our own members. It was a DSA member who first pitched the fast and free buses demand, and it came from the movement. So Zohran was running on a working class agenda with deep buy-in, and we were excited that we could all focus on that at the citywide level.
I think there's a lot of confusion maybe about labels here, right? What is a Democratic Socialist? And you heard Andrew Cuomo during the campaign, he would repeatedly refer to Mamdani as a socialist. You hear Donald Trump and other national Republicans call him a communist. I mean, obviously they're trying to sort of erase any distinction, right? What do you think of that?
I mean, I think they're trying to scare people because democratic socialism is really common sense to a lot of people when you explain it. For DSA, it's the idea that working people should be able to afford the city that we built and that they should have a democratic say in all aspects of their lives, from economic to political. And that's how Zohran defines it too. When you put it in terms like that, people aren't scared of it. When you point to policies that are democratic socialist, like universal childcare, let's say, people aren't scared of that. They're excited about it. So I think kind of shifting the goalposts, changing the names is an attempt to scare people, but poll after poll has shown that most Democrats are more excited by figures like Bernie and AOC than more establishment Democratic figures. when you show them what democratic socialism actually means on paper, they're interested in those ideas. Zoran is really building on that excitement and that interest. And people in the party who are rejecting that, and certainly people in the Republican Party who are attempting to make it scarier, I think are going to fall behind where voters, where Americans, where New Yorkers actually are and what we want.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, obviously, the National Republicans think that it's effective, right? I mean, we've seen already them trying to tie Mamdani and sort of weaponize him, tying him to more middle-of-the-road moderate Democrats. I mean, is that a concern for the DSA that Mamdani's success here in New York could actually lead to Republican victories in other parts of the country?
I think that what Mamdani's campaign has shown is that by having a principled working class agenda, that can become the tool for expanding a coalition of the working class. And Zoran defied conventional wisdom in politics by showing that if you are principled and you don't have to water down your agenda to expand your coalition. It's actually by sticking to your principles, fighting for the working class, choosing a side between workers and billionaires, that voters will come to trust you, to be excited by you. These were some of the key tools for us in order to expand the electorate. In this campaign, we saw both during the primary and during the general, huge expansions in young voters turning out to the polls. Immigrants have been voting in much higher numbers. And of course, in the final victory, Zoran got over 1 million votes. That's more than a mayoral candidate has gotten in over 50 years in New York. And that is thanks to a democratic socialist agenda and values that, won areas like Corona that had gone for Trump the previous election.
All right, so let's talk about what happens now going forward. I mean, I imagine DSA wants to capitalize on this momentum. Take me inside the war room. I mean, are we going to see more DSA candidates being run? Are you looking at the maps of how the electorate went and trying to decide what districts to go after?
Yeah, we have always been a strategic organization. We have always looked at maps and data. We want to run races, not to make a point, but to actually win them. And now we have a lot more data to work with. So we are certainly going to be running more races in 2026. I think this is critical, not just for continuing to expand on how we're changing the national conversation, but also critical to what we want to achieve in Albany. We know that a lot of Zoran's agenda depends on Albany, and we need lawmakers there to be paying attention to what DSA is doing, what Zoran is doing, so that they are willing to pass taxes on the wealthy in order to fund the things that the rest of New Yorkers need and want, and have shown that they want through this election.
Political figures throughout the political establishment oppose our agenda, and we've always made a strategy of taking on those who stand in the way of our demands. So far we've only made 2 endorsements this cycle, but it's against 2 assembly members who have fought against taxing the rich, who have fought against making New York more affordable for years. We have, experience dealing with Albany, and if somebody's standing in the way of working class power, they have to be challenged.
We're out of time, we got to go, but is it a priority to challenge Hakeem Jeffries, Brooklyn congressman? There's been a lot of talk about that.
We haven't made any public decisions on that, but we'll see.
All right. Private conversations are happening, I'm sure. All right, Gustavo Gordillo and Grace Mauser, thank you guys so much for spending some time with us.